Well, welcome everyone to this short presentation online on the UN 2K23 Water Conference. Maybe to start with, Mr. Sene, I would say first that's an honor to have you online as the Executive Secretary and Co-Chairman of the Preparatory Committee for the organization of the 9th World Water Forum. Would you be kind enough for our audience to sum up the background and the main outcomes of the conference?
Thank you very much.
That's a pleasure.
We had here in Senegal the privilege and the honor to welcome all the world for this 9th World Water Forum. We will organize this forum with the World Water Council and on behalf also of all Africa. It was really a very, very important event. And we could say that we had very important outcomes from this forum. We can consider that this forum was a milestone for the preparation of the UN 2023 conference. During this forum in Dakar, March 2022, we had the opportunity to exchange on all the main challenges of water securities. And we can say that we came with very important recommendation translated in what we call the Blue Deal on water security for peace and development. It was really a very important declaration on what could be the recommendation for universal access to water and sanitation, what could be the orientation for water management and preservation, but we discussed also about governance, finance, and mainly about cooperation around water. We tried to put on the table our main expectancies about the 2023 United Nations Conference. And we can say that our highest expectation from the African perspective was to have decisions, initiative to accelerate the universal access to water and sanitation. We all know that we are very behind when we consider the results and the evaluation for the SDG 6. And it is very important for all of us to organize things so that we can take good decision, good initiative, so that in Africa, where we are afraid that in the coming years, we could be behind the situation of 2015, that we could accelerate what are investment infrastructure to accelerate the universal access to water and sanitation. So we can say that we had really very big expectancies for these UN conferences. We consider that it was the greatest opportunity to develop new strategy, a new strong initiative to accelerate the access to water for all Africans, but also for around the world. And yes, we can say that the UN conference was a very important gathering. It was a very important moment for awareness on the urgency and the magnitude of the challenges related to water security. But we can say that even if we got very big results on the commitments for what we call the World Water Agenda, we are afraid that this conference could not put the measures that could guarantee the implementation of this engagement. This is, I think, the main preoccupation that we have now. We think that we need to have a system through which we could articulate and structure all these engagements. Many engagements have been taken by states, by civil society, by banks and private sector, but we are not sure that these engagement and commitments were articulated in such a way that we could find the adequate solution to the main issues of water security. And we think that also it is very important that we could adopt at the highest level at the United Nations the decision about this water envoy. It is very important. For us, it is important to restructure the engagement, to organize it, to have a kind of harmonization of this commitment, but it is also very important that effectively we could implement this request made by the vast majority of states to set up a special envoy on water. And we hope that the coming general assemblies on July, August, maybe September of the United Nations could really take very formal decisions on the adoption of a global water agenda, much more structured, but also with guidelines on how we will implement it. It is very important. And we think that these decisions could also concern this special envoy. That means that, yes, we had very positive results from this conference, but the expectations are still here to organize the way we will make a follow-up of these commitments, the way we will implement the designation of this global water envoy, and the way we could have really a real blue deal as we discuss it in Dakar, not only a compound of commitments, but a real blue deal that will be really compulsory for all the states so that we could, for the future, implement this agenda for the security of water for all and everywhere. This is, I think, what I could say at this stage to introduce my perspective on this agenda of the conference of 2023. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Your Honor, for this brilliant presentation. From our preparation talks and what I could see, Tobias seems to agree with what you said.
Are you passing the floor to me, Sébastien?
Pardon?
Are you passing the floor to me?
Yes, exactly.
Yes, in fact, I agree. I thank you very much, Abdoulaye, for this very good analysis of the conference. I do think that we had a very good kickoff in Senegal, and I would like to congratulate Abdoulaye again for an excellent 9th World Water Forum. I found it a very inspiring moment for Africa to be leading a 9th World Water Forum, and it was a great experience to be there in person. And also this effort to completely change the way in which the World Water Forums are normally run, and to have a new form of dialogue which is focused on resulting in a blue deal for the world is, I think, a big innovation. So that was a very important kickoff last year in March. And after that, we've had some very crucial events. So the government of Tajikistan has hosted the preparatory meetings for the UN conference in New York in March this year. And so that was a very important initiative of Tajikistan to continue the dialogue and prepare the road for New York, bringing stakeholders together again. And similarly, in Egypt, at COP27, the Egyptian government aligned at least 40 countries working on implementing all the SDGs in conditions of extreme water scarcity, and managed to put water and climate on the connections between water and climate on the agenda of the COP for the first time. So we now have a COP under the UNFCCC, which actually specifically mentions commitments on water, which I think is a historic move forward. And all of this has been brought to the UN conference in New York. So there was a lot of energy. But a colleague remarked to me that this was the first conference at UN level on water in 46 years. And all we had was 3 days. We only had 3 days in which to put together these decisions. So it was a very high pressure situation. And nevertheless, we managed to get, with the help of the Netherlands and Tajikistan and Senegal and Egypt, we got 700 different commitments on the table from different parties and stakeholders. And I think Abdoulaye is absolutely right. The big question now is, how do we structure these commitments and sort of organize them in a roadmap for implementation, which I think was the original intention at Dakar. And I have personally lost a little bit the track of where we are in terms of this roadmap. I would join Abdoulaye in encouraging all the stakeholders to try to put all the pieces together, the 700 pieces. How can we glue them together into a single global water agenda? This is, I think, going forward, my main preoccupation.
Wow, this is interesting. Maybe Madame Van Goody, if you want to intervene. Oh, I think she's not online. Okay. Would you want to react on those points, Mr. Sene?
Thank you very much. I share really the opinion of Tobias, and I would like to confirm that we are working with a great diversity of partners on the implementation of the Blue Deal. Because for us, it's very important to have really a clear and compulsory roadmap. Otherwise, we will see all these expectations evading. Let's consider what we call the SDG 6. It's clear now that in the Saharan region, many countries will see the rate of access going behind. That is dramatic, because with the augmentation of the population, with the degradation of the system, the infrastructure, with the difficulties to find investment, it's clear now that many countries in the Saharan region will be really in a much more negative situation than we had when we decided the SDGs. So what we are expecting now is to build this kind of platform with you, Tobias. We discussed it in New York, and we discussed it also through some of your workshop with the media. We think that it is very important to put pressure on the United States, on the states, so that we could really have a Blue Deal. It's difficult maybe to consider it in these days, considering the multiple and intensifying crises. But if we don't have this Blue Deal, I'm not sure that we will be in the capacity to solve the problem of the access for water and sanitation for all, essentially in Africa, but also in some parts of Asia. This is, I think, what we have to do. We count on you, on your platform, to organize networks so that we can maybe put much more pressure and organize our ideas and our initiative to go ahead. Thank you.
Arguably, this seems to be a very important milestone, both on the question of water, the management of water, and more generally on environmental issues. It seems like it's all about the combination between complexity management and coordination. And from your own perspectives, what is to be learned, I mean, institutionally from those two conferences? I mean, to be applied to other environmental issues. How can we institutionally face the question of coordination and how to put in place efficiently the program of the conference?
Yes, I think that we have COPs for climate. We have COPs also for biodiversity, but it is very urgent that we could implement a kind of international meeting organized by the United Nations in the same or in a similar way, so that we could discuss each year on the status of the water security. I think that this is very important. We need an international institution, not only maybe the informal one. We have Global Water Partnership, we have World Water Council, we have many other initiatives, but they are all informal. I think that it's very important to be direct to your question. We need an institution at the global level, formally implemented, to discuss and solve and make a follow-up on the challenges of water security. We need it at international level, but I think that we need it also in the different continents, Africa, Europe, and so on. I think that we have to move at the institutional level from the local to the global, so that we could have institutions at the local, national, continental level, but also global level to deal with this question of water as it is done for climate, biodiversity, and so on. Yeah, this is my answer on this question.
Yes, and to add that this is from very efficient African leadership on this issue, and this is something to be noticed. Tobias, would you like to react on the last point?
No, absolutely. I think there are a number of points to be made there. I think Abdullah is quite right that it would be good to have the beginning of institution building and regular meetings at the global level. So I hope that the fact that we have a special envoy, hopefully the high-level political forum in July, will accept the appointment of a special envoy on water within the UN system. And I know that we can count on the support of the UN, some key people within the UN, to take that forward. And of course, 150 countries have voted in favor of this at the United Nations. So I think this is something that is going to hopefully be accepted in July. And I hope that one of the first things on the table of this special envoy will indeed be to start to host regular meetings at the global level, as well as perhaps consultations at the regional level, such as across Africa, on water issues. Of course, Africa has its 2025 water agenda already, and that will probably be updated as of 2025. So there are these structures already in place, but at the global level, we do strongly need this kind of thing. Now, as a journalist, I think it's incredibly important for the journalists to realize the importance of water and to communicate that message to the broader public. You know, I have reported fairly recently in the last 2 years on almost a day zero in which Cape Town would be completely without water. A a crisis approaching the city of Sao Paulo with more than 24 million people, where Sao Paulo was running out of water. We now have questions around the dam levels for the supply of Barcelona. We have problems with the long-term supply for Chennai in India. There have been questions around the long-term supply of Nairobi. And, you know, we cannot accept a situation, I believe, in which we simply wait until the first city completely has to turn off its taps. It is a very urgent issue, and this is just the urban areas. I mean, the Senegal Forum placed a lot of emphasis on water for development in rural areas. You know, 70% of all water supply is used for agricultural production and for global food security. And right now, global food prices are very, very high, and it's extremely important to maintain water for food production. I do believe a lot of work needs to be done, and that needs to be done at high level. And I agree with Abdullah. Something needs to happen as soon as possible to put all these pieces together into a coherent framework.
Okay, it seems like the situation is very urgent, and at the same time, this meeting in July would be perfect to start to implement the program from the UN conference. If I may, what could go wrong on July? Tobias?
I think bold action is needed. And I know that states may be unwilling to take bold action because they may feel that commitments will be expected of them. On the other hand, I don't think that we can avoid these commitments. You know, every year that we continue to see more and more weather extremes, for instance, you know, we need, it becomes more and more urgent that we have defenses and resilience against climate extremes. So this is a very, very urgent issue on the table. And I hope that these messages will not be, you know, kicked down again to the next meeting. I am a bit fearful about the mandate of the special envoy for water. I'm not sure who is going to be writing his terms of reference or his job description, but I hope that the states will give this person a considerable amount of space to initiate diplomatic action and to bring the countries together. So I'm wondering about the job description of the special envoy. I haven't seen any drafts yet. Maybe Abdullah has seen a secret version. I don't know. But I think these are the kinds of things that I will be looking at in the future. Also, I think they may be wanting to strengthen UN Water because there are 32 different agencies within the United Nations which have a mandate for water, whether it's for children, UNICEF, or health, WHO, etc., etc. How do all of these organizations work together coherently to manage water? And the question is then, you know, what is the mandate of UN Water to steer these groups together? And I think that is another decision for the HLPF to take in July.
Okay. Your Honor, Mr. Sene, are you optimistic about this?
Yes, I am optimistic. We have to be optimistic. We don't have the choice, because if we don't have solutions, things will be very bad in the world in the coming years. You see what is happening in many European countries. I used to look at what is happening in some countries in Europe, in France or something like that. I see that in many cities now, they have some shortage in water, as we had it maybe some years before in South Africa. That means that, yes, we could have very dramatic situation there and elsewhere also. You see what is happening now in Central Africa with the inundation. more than 500 or 600 people. It's very important that the world take care of the situation. We cannot continue to consider that it's a minor subject. It's a very important subject. And if you look at what is now happening about food security also in some countries, you will see that we need really to have a new institutional framework. We cannot continue to do business as usual. Yes, UNESCO is very important, is doing a very good job in water science. Yes, FAO is doing very good job for water in agriculture. Yes, we can have maybe some organization dealing with humanitarian aspects, but all this looks a little bit in siloed. We need really to structure it. Even if we know that we have UN water, we know that UN water is very informal and not so strong to take care of the structuration and harmonization. So I am optimistic. I think that what has been said by more than 10,000 people during the UN conference will be heard by the UN General Secretariat, but also that we could also consider that all the states will take care of what has been said during this UN conference. 3 days, it was very, very short, but I think that we had good messages and we have good proposals. So I'm very optimistic that after this conference, we have a very important World Water Envoy. And the terms reference is not difficult, my dear Tobias, to write it. It's not very difficult. We have to build a roadmap, a global water agenda, and we have to organize periodically gatherings, meetings at the highest level to see if we are really progressing. If not, what to do. It's very important. So I'm sure that we will have the good decision on July. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. In a way, it seems quite consensual on this, and basically the water scarcity in some cities in Europe could give even more visibility to the issue on the global scale. And maybe I have a question from the audience. What are your thoughts on the developments of SDG 6? Are we lagging? Are we going in the right way? What do you think?
For sure, we are not going in the right way. As I explained, we made some simulation in the Sahel region, and we see that we are not progressing, but we are regressing. We are regressing in the access to water and sanitation in these countries. That means that we need new initiative. If we want to change the situation, we need to get out the process and find a new process, find new ways, new strategies. In Africa, we think that what we call the African Investment Program in Water, we launched the high-level panel to promote this African Investment Program. We think that, yes, if we could find ways to mobilize this finance around $30 billion per year, we could maybe make things advance. But in the actual situation, we can say that we are really behind this objective. We need 30 billions and we have only around 10 billions. That means that we have to multiply the efforts by 3, by 4, or by even by 5 if you consider the sanitation. So I think that we are not really in the good tendency. We have to change it. and we need to do it right now and in a very, very, very radical way, also with very important initiatives.
Okay. Tobias, would you like to react?
Sure. I mean, I think that it's important not only that more investments are done in the water sector, but that it's done in a smart way. So it's not just about the amount of funds, but the way in which it's spent. And more, I think we are realizing, as for instance, that a lot of engineering solutions have been focused without too much attention for how nature actually operates. And so, for instance, a lot of the solutions for the future will need to be much more nature-oriented and nature-based in their approach. And also the protection and adaptation to climate change will require much deeper understanding of how nature actually works for engineers for the future. So I think there's a lot of rethinking that is needed. And I welcome a lot of the leadership, especially the people who are stepping forward. So in Senegal, we had the Africa Investment Program saying, you know, this is a clear commitment by a number of heads of states to step forward and say, we need this Africa Investment Program. And a number of state presidents will step forward and initiate this dialogue. And I congratulate the president of Zambia for being the first one on the table to say, look, you know, we are going to put at least $1 billion on the table. And we encourage all donors and other private sector investors to join with us. And I think this is the kind of initiative that we need to see because it creates positivity, it brings stakeholders together around a common purpose. And I'm confident that with this kind of leadership, we can actually do it. And I'm in fact quite strongly involved in efforts right now to bring these investments both from the public and the private sector into the African continent. And I think, yeah, if we all work together, we can do it. So I don't want to create an atmosphere, you know, that there's not enough finance out there. I think there is enough finance. It's just that people need to be convinced how important it is for long-term food security, also of Europe and also of the United States, etc., for the cocoa and the coffee and the everything that we depend on from Africa. You know, investments are needed to maintain secure supplies of these products. So I think it's very important, not just for Africa, but for the entire world to take this very seriously.
Okay, thank you very much. And after July, what is to be expected from the institutions? I mean, on the next steps of the conferences and meetings?
I think that after July, if we have our special envoy, we need to organize some initiative for the follow-up. This follow-up could be organized at different levels. Let's say that we have commitments dealing with African challenges. We have also global challenges. We have European challenges. We need at these levels to organize platforms to structure all these commitments and the way to implement them, and also to put it in interaction with what we can call the institutional framework. Let's say that the African Union have to take care with AMCAO, which is the African Ministerial Council on Water, have to take care of what we have to do for Africa. European Union could do it, but we can also use the other platforms. Let's say Global Water Partnership is working on some global issues, but has also some regional platforms. We have also other platforms. So we need to see with this UN Special Envoy, with the support of UN Water, how to organize the follow-up and to be sure that the decisions and the results coming from the UN conference could be really impactful on the ground at the local level. This is, I think, what we have to do. We need maybe a kind of annual meeting on water, as it is done for water, for climate and biodiversity and so on, or we can try maybe to combine them, but there is something to do on this way to have a global review on what is going on water security. And we need also to have with the institutions how to organize structures, the commitments, and organize the commitments.
If I can, Sebastian, I think Abdullah is right. And, you know, there are 700 different commitments that have been put on the table in New York on water. And 700. And I think if I was the special envoy, my big question would be, how do I remind all these people of what they have committed to? And, you know, you need a team to remind continuously people to on what they have committed themselves to. I noticed that Sanitation and Water for All, which is a big international network on access to drinking water and sanitation, they promised that any of these commitments that people put on the table, from a presidential perspective, they would be willing, as Sanitation and Water for All, to monitor the implementation of all these commitments. So these are the kind of things where I think if everybody can come to the table and say, you know, I volunteer to monitor the implementation of these commitments, etc., that would be a great way to move forward as well. We need, you know, we cannot all do it or put it all on the shoulders of one special envoy. We have to all cooperate to make sure that we monitor each other in the implementation of these commitments.
Okay, thank you very much. It seems clear what is to be done on the next period. This is straightforward. What we could do now is to open the mic for some question from the audience, if someone is likely to speak. I don't know if there is any question. Apparently no.
Where is our friend Agan? Agan, are you there?
Yes, Tobias, I'm there. I've been listening to the conversations. This is Agan. I'm the CEO of the Media for Environment, Science, Health, and Agriculture. And I think, as you'd expect, is that we need to consolidate these issues so that you know, the media can pick on really how, you know, they can continue to keep the conversation on the issues at hand. I think it's important that Abdullah has spoken about the fact that we are not developing or that we are not making great strides that would really give us milestones to be proud of. So I think we just need to break it down so that you know, the media can pick it. And I think of much importance is that the two meetings that we've had in West Africa and then in Nairobi is that you know, to them that much is given, much is expected. And so for us, I think what has happened with Water Diplomat and Julian is that we really need to, you know, build the capacity of journalists so that they keep in the right track and they keep in the right conversations. And so regular updates are going to be very key. Regular involvement in some of these meetings that we are talking about, especially the conference, I think is very, very key. But much more is also the issue of integrated water resource management that I think is really coming into play as a very big conversation and agenda. So I think we are in the right track. We just need to, you know, talk more and have the conversations that have content that can really make sure that policymakers listen to us, read us, and act. So for now, I think that's what I would say. Back to you, Mr. Moderator.
Thank you.
Is there any other comments or questions from the audience? I have one from Kevin Lunzalu, pardon, which have a question on how can we integrate youth in all this program? Yeah.
I think that in my point of view, it's very important to consider the place and the role of the youth in all what we have to do to put in implementation this global water agenda. In Dakar, we put in place a platform for the youth in water. And I think that we need to integrate these young people in the conception and the implementation of the initiative. You know, we will need communication. In this, we need the young people. We will need also young professionals. But I am sure that the youth could have also some specific initiative that could be integrated in this global water agenda. So we have different ways to do it, and we will do it also. We have to do it also in relation and in an open discussion with the young people, so that they could find their adequate place and they give their adequate contribution also.
Okay, thank you very much.
Maybe I can just add that in the future workshops that we will be having, I do intend to include youth, because I think it's not just journalists who have already started their career, but I think it's important for youth to start and to be involved in these trainings so that they can contribute to articles. I've already been in contact with several universities now where, you know, let's say the research of recent graduates on water issues, so that I'm in contact with the lecturers who can alert me to important research. And we encourage the students to also write stories about the findings that they have had. So, and I'm engaging with the World Youth Parliament for Water as well, see if we can structure ways in which youth contributions to the articles can be structured. And also very importantly, I'm working on a funding mechanism to make sure that we can commission articles in the future for the Water Diplomat, and pay people for their work in contributing to the Water Diplomat. I really think I'd like to work together with Julien and others to build a global platform for reporting on water. This is the long-term aim of what we're doing together. If we can get the funding together, and I think that I'm getting more and more positive that we can, then we can have a financial mechanism to bring everybody together to report regularly on water from all corners of the world. Now I see that Tuku has a question as well, Sebastian.
Yeah.
Good evening, everyone.
Yeah. Go ahead.
My name is Duku Kariuki. I'm from Nairobi, Kenya. And I wanted to pose this question to, I think, Tobias, Abdullahi, and Julian, because it looks like it's very important to continue the engagements on this somehow new way of reporting, especially for us journalists. So how are you going to continue engaging, and what are the new engagement methods you're going to use to make it more, you know, more attractive and more informative when we tell the story, so that at least people can see the seriousness in this?
I think from the perspective of the Water Diplomat, I think honestly there's some learning to be done, because we have a classical written form of articles, and it may be a little bit outdated. And I believe that we probably need, again, some youth and other advisors in our team to begin to modernize the way in which we approach media, and to talk about outreach on social media and other approaches which can bring the stories a little bit more to life. So I'm actively considering it from the Water Diplomat's side to not only have written articles and a monthly journal, but also start to incorporate some social media outreach on the key stories. I think that would be one of the key. Julien's been silent until now. I'm sure he's got an opinion on this. Monsieur Chambol.
Yes,
Mr.
I'm
Chambon
here.
is requested.
Where are you?
I'm here. I'm here. Sorry.
What is your opinion on stimulating media and water?
From my side, what I think is that, as I mentioned when we were in Nairobi, that Africa 21 to put this issue in front of everything, we can organize in a regular basis online conferences on different approach of water issues with different international experts to push this issue in the African media and to create a bridge between all these international actors, all these different kind of approaches, and the ground, the situation on the ground in Africa. It's what we can do first and easily. After, I don't know if it's possible or not at this level, but the idea could be also to create a group of motivated journalists in Africa who are very, very interested by this kind of issue. And we can organize on an annual basis a training each year on these issues, just to update the knowledge and to create new expertise on this issue of water. It's what I can say at this level.
Thanks.
Interesting.
So a question online, Sebastian, from Lina.
Yes, we have a question about the place of women on this issue, on those conferences.
May I be permitted to respond?
Yeah.
So I just, I've been speaking to the Women for Water Diplomacy caucus for quite regularly. And there is, let's say, a leadership, a mentorship group where senior water diplomats who are female and who have been operating in an environment where the majority of the politicians around them and the diplomats are actually male. They are now encouraging younger female water diplomats to join the profession, and they are coaching them and giving them support. So there is a Women for Water Diplomacy network. And I have a recent interview you can look at the Water Diplomat website with Lesha Whitmar, who's from the Global Water Partnership and quite a well-known diplomat in the international arena for water and on women's issues. Her actual assessment for the New York Water Conference was that about 40% of the participation was female. So she's quite optimistic that it's going in the right direction. She's been asking for statistics from UN MESHA to be able to give more accurate statistics on the breakdown of the conferences, but it's being very closely monitored by the women's groups. And there are strong efforts underway to encourage more female participation in some of the historically male fields, such as engineering and so on, where there's an encouragement for women to join the arena and begin to join join the global voices. So she's actually quite positive in the interview. You can look on the website of the Water Diplomat and you'll see my discussion with her.
Okay, that sounds perfect, at least on the paper. One more question from Kevin Lunzalu.
It's actually a contribution, and I'm happy to unmute to speak it out.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, so we organized well thanks to Water Diplomat and the Africa 21. We organized well for the water conference that happened in March. But I do feel that what we started in Nairobi can be built upon to create a better preparation on making the water agenda a climate agenda in view of the COP28 that is happening. So probably another meeting or a series of other meetings where we'll have these issues at the grassroots and the need for the closing of the existing gaps showing up more in the media between now and the climate COP, so that we make this issue like truly bold in the discussions of the COP28. So I do feel that there's just like a huge opportunity for us as journalists and the three organizations that were involved in bringing us together to build on what we started to actually prepare some more. Yeah, thank you.
Well noted from my side, and I will do what I can for my side.
Mr. Sene, anything else to say on this matter?
Yeah, just to confirm that the issue of the participation of women is very, very important. We can maybe expect the possibility to have a woman as a special envoy for water. Why not at the global level, or we can have it at the continental level also. These kind of things could be considered. But I'm sure that, yes, you're right, we have to consider this. And finally, I think that in Sharm el-Sheikh, very good job have been done to give much more place to water in the COP. But yes, we can continue to deal with water issues in this COP. But since we have very specific aspects of water, I think that globally we need to have definitively a gas ring specifically dedicated to water. So let's say that it is open. Let's work with the COPs, but let's try also to see how the special envoy can consider also a specific gas ring, a formal one, not only World Water Council Forum, but also something where we could have some formal decisions from the states.
Okay, thank you very much. Afedraru Lominda seems to have an educated question on this. Lominda? Okay. Lominda was asking about how to integrate other topics such as climate change and agriculture when reporting water issues.
I think actually Luminda is completely right. It's not about water. It is about agriculture. It is about health. It is about climate change. It is about the environment. And water is a supporting issue for all of these. And this is absolutely right. I think although we are, I mean, personally, I'm a water professional, but the most important thing is not water itself. It is what water can do. Water can produce food. Water can provide us with health. Water can, provide absolutely necessary drinking water every day. So there are many things that water can do, and it's more about that than anything else. So I hope that the focus has not been too much on water, and I apologize if that has been the message. But it's not the way that I intended it anyway.
Okay, thank you very much. Maybe Hagen would like to say something. Maybe no. Mr. Sene?
Yes, I think that the clarification made by Tobias are really very, very pertinent. So we share what he said. It's a question of valuing water. Water is connected to all these things. So we have to have a holistic way of considering water. And that's why I was explaining that it's very important to have very specific meetings where we could discuss about water security, but in relation with food security, with energy security, with also sanitary issues, with urban and so on. That is very important, I think, to have this very holistic way of thinking.
Okay, thank you very much. Would you have any last word, Your Honor?
Just to thank you again and to congratulate you for your efforts on what you are doing to put the water at the uppermost place of the agenda, the global agenda. I think that the media have a very, very important role to play. And we will do our best to give you our support in this challenge, and wish you the best in this very important initiative. Thank you very much to all.
Okay, thank you to you, and thank you very much to Tobias for such a seminal talk. I'm afraid again, and Madame Goody are not under the screens. Well, I just have to thank you both. Thank you for the audience. I think that was really interesting and shows how those matters are very intricate, and the necessity to promote the role of youth and the women's on this water leadership. And we are expecting for the future in July and after, to see how things are going to be applied. Thank you very much to all, and see you soon.
Basically, I think it's the moment that everybody has been waiting for, because we want to announce the winners. So I will mention number 3 and number 2, but then let me just start by saying that everyone is a winner, because people really worked hard. When we look at the scores, I think it was too close to call, but number 3 goes to our own gracious lady from Uganda, Sarah Natolo of UBC. Sarah, congratulations, you are the number 3 in this competition. Can we put our hands together for Sarah, wherever we are? Yeah, so Sarah comes from Uganda. Sarah, maybe we can have a look at, we can see you a little bit for a second, if you're in a position to be seen.
Yeah, let me try. Can you see me?
Oh, yes. Yes, I can't see you. There is no picture there. Okay, I think
the most important is just to hear you.
Thank you. Thank you, Sarah, and congratulations. And then number 2 is Lina Mwamachi from Kenya. So Lina, congratulations.
Thank you.
All right. Lina, maybe we can just see you for a second. Just wave at us. Congratulations, you are our number 2. And then for number 1, I get it back to Julia to introduce the official from the embassy. So
maybe if Miss Goody is online, she can announce the winners, the number 1. Miss Goody, are you there?
Yes, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yes, please.
Yes. Allow me to make a brief introduction.
Of course.
I'm Goody Alkamada. I'm working at the Netherlands Embassy in Kenya, but I'm also the Deputy Permanent Representative to UNEP and UN Habitat. So I have been following quite a bit what happened in the UN in the run-up to the UN Water Conference. And maybe just a few words for introduction. The Netherlands has proudly hosted the UN Water Conference, recognizing the challenges that are relating to water scarcity, water security, water quality, problems of either too little, too much, or too polluted water that needs to be addressed. And we are proud on the commitments in the action agenda and the pledges that were made. And we also welcome, as we just heard, the active contribution from African countries. To speak with our king, Willem-Alexander, this conference, we believe, really made a splash. But we also agree, and I think that also came out in the conversation that we had, that real success will be measured only on how the commitments will be followed up. To address the challenges of water security, water scarcity, and water quality, it's not only the governments that need to act, the policymakers to be aware and knowledgeable, and all relevant stakeholders to act coherently in the face of the challenges that we face, including on climate change. But at the same time, it is also important to raise awareness with the public. And I also was pleased to hear the attention for the young generation that are our future. Against this background, we were also proud to provide support to the Water Diplomat workshop to enhance the momentum and understanding of the need to address water-related challenges in Africa, where we all know that water is life, which is specifically profound here. And we are grateful for the organization of the Water Diplomat Africa 21 organization, and we trust that much has been learned. And from this point, I would like to congratulate all the participants, and I agree with the previous speaker that everybody is a winner. But I do have the privilege of announcing the winner of the journalistic competition, which is Ms. Tuku Kariuki, with her reporting on Eco Africa in the Environment magazine from Kenya, with a video. And maybe Tuku, you can also show your video and share a few words on your experience. And congratulations from my side very much. And sorry I took some time, but I didn't want to interfere in the discussion, which I think should be within the people working here, not from my side. Thank you.
So, Sana. Oh, thank you so very much. I'm happy that at least I was able to win that. And I am sure that everyone who has not been able to see that piece can at least have a chance of seeing it. I can share the link again. And basically, I'm very happy that I attended the Nairobi Water Conference because it's the one that gave me 100% of the idea of doing the story that I did at a point whereby Kenya was facing a very, very, very stubborn drought. You remember, those of us who are in Kenya know that for the last 3 years, we've not had a very good rains in this country. And as usual, the person who suffers the most is the farmer, because 80% of our people here in Kenya are farmers or depend on income from the farms. So I am actually very, very happy that I attended the water conference, because when I went there and we did some 2 or 3 site visits to the farms, I was able to pick a very, very good story, which today I call my best environment story so far. So over and above the fact that I won the award, it created a very huge interest in me to continue following up matters on water and the use of water, and how, the effects of maybe not having adequate water, or not having, very well controlled water resource from the sources is affecting the availability of water to everyone. So thank you very much for this and for the award. I am happy that at least that effort was noticed in this way. And I congratulate all my colleagues who we were with at the conference, because I had a chance of reading all the articles that were shared after the conference, and all of them are very informative, and they can be told again and again and again, because we are on a process of making this happen. We are on a journey that is supposed to be appreciated by everyone. And we as the journalists have the chance of continuing telling the stories and making the difference. So for the piece that I did, it's a very interesting piece, because one of the water sources that I highlighted on that piece is Central Kenya Lake. That is the only natural lake in Central Kenya that had dried up. But a visit that I did a week from now, a week ago, is showing some, the lake is coming back, which is very interesting. But the questions that now maybe when I revisit the story soon, I'll ask is whether anything was done to make sure that at least we don't get there again. But all in all, we are very happy. It's raining in Nairobi now, almost for the 3rd month. And we hope that it's going to be a better time, more than it has been for the last 3 years. And for us, the journalists who are here, I will ask you to continue telling the stories, especially about water, because we have just discovered, or we have just been reminded, that it's not only about water, it's about wholesomely, about our livelihood, about the environment, and about agriculture, about everything else. So thank you very much for this, and I hope that we'll continue engaging and we'll continue giving ideas of how we can even better this. Asante sana.
Sebastian?
Okay. Back, I was afraid Mr. Hagan and Madame Van Goody were offline. Well, as I contributed to the evaluation of the articles and the review of those articles, I would like to warmly congratulate all of you from what you have done. This is such a nice job, and as far as I can say, I'm very impressed of the quality of the articles. Thanks and congrats to all, and especially to the nominated articles. And on the water issue, we will do a follow-up during the next months and to see how things are going.
Thank you also to all the partners who help us to organize this series of activities on water in 2022 and the beginning of 2023, including, of course, Tobias from the Water Diplomat, Agan with MESHA, the Network of Environmental Journalists in Kenya, and of course, our sponsors, the Embassy of Netherlands and the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of Netherlands. Without money, we can do nothing. So thank you very much for this very helpful contribution for these activities. Thank you to all, and my pleasure to see you in the next activities for this year, of course on water, but we launch also a new cycle of activity on circular economy, but you will receive soon new information on that. Thank you to all, and have a good end of day, good evening to all. Okay. Thank you.
Okay, bye-bye. And let's say congrats to you, Julien. Thanks for your dedication.
Thank you. Ciao.